Reading from Psalm 35, verses 1 through 10 and 26 through 28. Accuse my accusers, Yahweh. Attack my attackers. Grip your shield and sword. Arise and help me. Brandish your spear and javelin in the faces of my pursuers. Say to me, I am your victory. Shame and infamy on those who are out to kill me. Turn them back and confuse those who plot my downfall. Let them be like chaff in the wind, with the angel of Yahweh driving them. Let them walk a dark and slippery road, with the angel of Yahweh hounding their heels. Without provocation, they spread their net for me. Unprovoked, they dug a pit for me. But let ruin overtake them unawares. Let the net they spread for me to catch them instead. Let them fall into their own pit. Then I'll rejoice in Yahweh, exult that God has saved me. All my bones will exclaim, Yahweh, who can compare to you? You rescue the oppressed from their oppressors, the vulnerable from their exploiters. Let all who gloat over my misfortune be put to shame and confusion. Let all who profit at my expense be clothed with fame, with shame and infamy. But let those who delight in my vindication shout for joy and be glad. Let those who delight in my well-being continually say, Yahweh, be praised. Then my tongue will tell of your justice and sing your praises all day long. Here ends the reading. May God help us hear what the Spirit is saying to the church.
Will you pray with me, please? Now may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Friends, we continue our summer series on the Psalms this morning, reading through the lens offered by theologian Walter Brueggemann. The psalm we read this morning falls into the category he calls Psalms of Disorientation, a time when the world as we know it has imploded, fallen apart, or turned upside down. If you do a cursory image search online for disorientation, you get a lot of pictures with heads spinning, thoughts in tornadoes or tied up in knots, seeing stars not in a good way, signs of exhaustion and exasperation. It also surfaced the bulletin photo this morning that you can see on the front of your bulletin. It's an image associated with an aviation page talking about spatial disorientation, spatial D. Obviously, so this is, quote, the inability to determine one's position, location, and motion relative to their environment, end quote. Obviously, extraordinarily dangerous when flying through the air at high speeds. But whether or not we have a pilot's license, most of us have experienced what that picture evokes, having a moment or wondering, which way is up? I think we are living through a collective experience of this right now in our country. So many norms, standards by which we conducted our collective life, however imperfectly, seemingly abandoned. While preparing for this message and thinking about the communal experience of up is down and down is up modern Americans are living through, it occurred to me that it's been a long time since I've heard any politician appeal to American exceptionalism. Do you remember when we heard about that a lot? This idea that a commitment to democratic values and human rights was a way to maintain high moral ground worldwide and part of a commitment to the safety of our service members, our public servants, and even private citizens traveling abroad, recognizing that if we don't hold ourselves to a higher standard, we have no ground to stand on when speaking to others about abuses of human rights or negotiating the release of our people. It is heartbreaking to hear stories of people, children of God, being deported to third countries in the torturous conditions in which they've been kept. It is heartbreaking to hear stories of people, children of God, cut off from life-saving antiretrovirals just as their governments were titrating up to full payment of the program. And it's heartbreaking to hear stories of people, children of God, bracing for the loss of medical care. It's disorienting, isn't it? And it turns out this experience of disorientation isn't new, though the political context is. It's as old as the Psalms and as old as the human condition. Brueggemann labels our Psalm 35 as a psalm of personal complaint. The speaker, the psalmist, has identified a problem, not just in their life as an isolated individual, but a problem in their relationship with God. Why are you letting this happen to me, God? Do something about this, God. Help me. Why won't you help me? Oh, the praise I will offer if you help me. Now, our faith doesn't teach that God is responsible for bad things happening to vulnerable people. But it is notable that the people of Israel, that ancient people, did not expunge these complaints, this regressive speech, from the record of our sacred texts. And by regressive, that's a quote from Brueggemann too. He means the kind of speech that our higher selves wouldn't usually express, at least not in polite company, right? This is not a very polite psalm, and there are some in there that are they're pretty rough, okay? We'll just say that. Vengeful anger, self-pity, doubt, revenge fantasies, blame. Though I will note that when Brueggemann first published this text, social media and the unfiltered speech that it breeds did not exist. So, kind of bracketing that. We all know what it's like in moments of crisis when the wheels come off and our thoughts and our feelings kind of go spinning off in those negative and kind of primal directions. These world-ending events may be personal, a confrontation with addiction, with mental illness, a betrayal of deeply held values, a diagnosis that changes the course of one's life, an accident or unexpected death. Or these world-ending events may be communal: war, famine, terrorism, natural and human-made disasters. When we come to, either individually or collectively, after the flood or the tornado or the bomb, when we see the new shape of the landscape and we no longer recognize what we once loved, it is natural to resist the change life has wrought. And yet here it is, the record of this speech, these very human expressions in the scriptures. Brueggemann argues that the presence of this speech is an acknowledgement that even this, even our anger, even our self-pity, even our doubt and revenge fantasies and blame, all of this is faithful when it's taken to God. Accuse my accusers, Yahweh. Attack my attackers. Get them. Grip your shield and sword. Arise and help me. Brandish your spear and javelin in the faces of my pursuers. Use force if you must, but stop them coming. The presence of all of these things in the Psalms, especially these Psalms of disorientation, when up is down and down is up, it is not a blessing or a green light on turning negative feelings into bad behavior, but it is a reminder that God can take whatever we bring, whatever we are suffering or wrestling with or questioning, whatever feels threatening. If we feel it, it is all appropriate fodder for dialogue with God, who is with us through it all. Brueggemann also argues that part of what we witness in the Psalms is a transformation of faith. From faith in an immutable God and faith that blessings, prosperity, comfort are symbols of God's presence and grace, a naive and, if we are honest, shallow faith that is dependent on our own life circumstance and level of comfort. A transformation from that kind of faith to faith in a present and faithful God, no matter what life brings. No matter how uncomfortable, how distressed, how upside down we may be. This is the faith of Jesus in his Abba God, when from the cross he cries out lines from Psalm 22, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Think about that. Feel that in your body. That while dying on the cross, the torturous execution method of an empire that felt threatened by the way of love, Jesus reached for the Psalms to give voice to his experience, a psalm of disorientation, the feeling of being abandoned lifted as a plea to God, still in conversation, still in relationship with God, even in that moment. This is what psalms of disorientation do. If you keep reading, keep praying, keep moving through the witness they bear, you see a transformation happening. Moving from let them walk a dark and slippery road with the angel of Yahweh hounding their heels, that sounds treacherous, to then I will rejoice in Yahweh, exult that God has saved me. All my bones will exclaim, Yahweh, who can compare to you? You rescue the oppressed from their oppressors, the vulnerable from their exploiters. Psalms of disorientation transmute the experience of threat, of being blown apart, upside down, taking all the negative feelings in the face of uncertainty and chaos to God. When the psalmist surrenders to the experience they are living through, accepting life on its terms, letting their own response be, and when they allow God to be God in the face of it all, they also allow God to make a way where no way previously seemed possible. This is the ancient faith of the Israelites who, while being chased through the desert by Pharaoh's army, found a way through the Red Sea on land. This is the faith of Jesus, who clung to nonviolence in the face of state violence and planted seeds with his living and dying and rising of what fullness of life in God could be. There's that kind of astonishing turn these psalms of disorientation make to imagine the praise they will render when change comes. Then I will. What a thing to be in the quagmire of threat, challenge, disorientation, to be in the up is down, and to be dreaming of the praise you will render to God when God makes a way you cannot see. Because the Israelites crossed the sea. And in our time, the Berlin Wall fell. And where it seemed impossible, way opened. That is the promise of our faithful God of life, people of God. That the way of death will not prosper. It cannot, not forever, because ultimately it will deal its own death. It is an exercise in prophetic and faithful imagination to cry out our what the hecks and our my gods and our save nows to God, while also dreaming of the day and the way that things will be made right. Friends, Wendell Berry wrote a poem called The Sycamore that speaks into this work of letting life come, transmuting what does, and continuing to root and ground and grow in God through it all. He writes, quote, "In the place that is my own place, whose earth I am shaped in and must bear, there is an old tree growing, a great sycamore that is a wondrous healer of itself. Fences have been tied to it, nails driven into it, hacks and whittles cut in it, the lightning has burned it. There is no year it has flourished in that has not harmed it. There is a hollow in it that is its death, though its living brims whitely at the lip of the darkness and flows outward. Over all its scars has come the seamless white of its bark. It bears the gnarls of its history healed over. It has risen to a strange perfection in the warp and bending of its long growth. It has gathered all accidents into its purpose. It has become the intention and radiance of its dark fate. It is a fact, sublime, mystical, and unassailable." End quote. Friends, Psalms of disorientation bear the record of the nails driven, the whittles cut, the lightning burned. But they also hold faith in a God who finds a way of gathering all accidents into its purpose. By their raw and ragged speech, these psalms imagine the way God will make a way out of none, sublime, mystical, and unassailable. Help us now, God. Oh, the praise we will sing on that day. Amen.